In this video I'm going to show you how to service the front and rear disc brakes on the Chrysler 300m. This is a 1999. I don't know exactly what years it covers, but I'm sure you can figure that out. This one actually has a damaged rear rotor. The pads that were allowed to wear down too far. So I'll be showing you how to replace the rear rotor as well. On the front, the rotor is fine, but I will show you how to remove it anyway. And we'll be doing the pads on the front too. So to get started, you're going to need a 10mm. I'm using a socket and ratchet. You could use a wrench if you don't have the socket and ratchet. Under no circumstance should you be using an impact wrench to remove or install the bolts for this caliper. Otherwise, you've probably got some pretty big problems there. On the front passenger or the front driver's side of this car, actually someone had used an impact to install a bolt and it ended up cross-threading it. So I had to deal with that problem when I took it off. It was not very much fun. So, get started. You need to remove the two 10mm bolts that hold the caliper on to the bracket here. There's one there and the other one is up here. So, let's get those off of there. Make sure you're turning this the correct way. Now you gotta think the head of the bolt's not facing you, so it's gonna look to you like you're turning it clockwise. In fact, from the perspective of the bolt head, you're turning it counterclockwise to remove it. Now, these occasionally can be a pain to remove, especially if they've been allowed to wear this far. The rivets actually wear grooves into the rotors, and now you've got to try to pull this thing out of those grooves. So that's what the BFP is for. And big old pry bar right there. Look at that. Stick it in there. So you can get a better shot of it. Just pry on it like that. Look there. Generally letting the caliper swing from the hose like that's not a good idea. Right, now you can pull the old pads out. These have clips that hold them into the top, so you can stick your screwdriver in there and pry them out like this. Come on. Try not to stab yourself in the hand. If you think this is fun, wait till you have to put the new ones on. You want to leave the old one here for now. Take your C-clamp and push that caliper piston back in. So we just get our C-clamp. We're going to unscrew it a bit here. Get it situated like that. And then screw it on. And it should be pushing that piston in. There it goes. If the piston won't go back in this way, then you're probably going to have to replace this caliper because it's seized up. It shouldn't be very hard to push in. You can do this with one hand. You can see I'm holding it with this hand and using my right hand to screw the clamp down. It's almost all the way down there. It's being difficult trying to hold this so that the camera can see it without bracing it against my knee or something. It's making this a little more difficult than it actually is. And the pad is flat against the bottom of the caliper there, so it is ready to go. Pull out the old pad. Set your caliper up here in a way that it won't fall back down. And now you get to remove the factory retaining clips. This is not something you need to put back on. This is something that's there to keep the rotor in place while it goes down the assembly line so the rotor doesn't fall off before they put the wheel on it. The wheel holds the rotor on. So some people want to put them back on. If you want to put it back on, knock yourself out. I'm not going to reinstall them because they're not needed. Here you can see what I'm talking about here. There's a pin there. Or not a pin, I guess it's kind of a, it's a retainer. and there's another one opposite of it. So in order to get these things off of here, trying to do this without blocking the camera is a little difficult. You stick your little screwdriver in here, trying to find you somewhere to, there we go, get underneath of it. And you want to go all the way around it. Be really careful not to stab yourself. It'd be very easy to do that. Once you get it out far enough, you can actually twist it off like it's a nut. Now we're going to use the BFH to take this rotor off. There is a space back here where the caliper went. This should give you enough room to swing on it. I'm going to move this caliper a little further out of the way. Easier said than done. And then just going to get on the back of the caliper and rotate it. And that's the caliper off, or the rotor off. I said caliper, didn't I? And that can be thrown away. Now, I've only ever seen this done on trucks, but they use a drum brake setup on the inside of this rotor as a parking brake. This is the only purpose in life as a parking brake, so they will probably never have to be replaced unless you like driving around with your parking brake on. In order to get the new rotor on it, though, we're going to have to push the adjuster on it down so that the shoes actually travel inward, so it'll be easier to get the new rotor over that. You're going to be using a screwdriver. I'm going to take the camera off the stand here and try to get some light in it to show you where this thing is at. You can see I got the screwdriver on it here, I hope. It's just a little thing, it's got little teeth on it. And on the passenger side, you push it up. On the driver's side, you'll actually be pushing it down. So if you push it this way, these pads should actually move towards each other, or the shoes, I'm sorry. And since this is kind of a difficult angle, I'm just going to put the camera back on the stand and finish this up. So you just be pushing this up here. Alright, this whole mechanism just got really loose, so that's enough. It doesn't have to be pushed all the way in, just until there's no tension on it, so that you know it's far enough in that you can slip that rotor over it. Alright, when you get new rotors, they come in a box inside of plastic. They actually have a light oil coating on them to keep them from rusting, since they are bare metal. They have stuff called brake parts cleaner you need to spray off the entire contact surface with. Otherwise you're going to have oil on your brakes, and well, that doesn't work too good. Be really careful not to get that stuff in your eyes. It will effectively remove your eyeball. So after you spray it off, get it nice and clean. Stick your rotor on there. It's almost too shiny to be on a car, isn't it? And you got to get your pads and put them in your calipers. Now, you may notice that these pads kind of look like they got blue paint on them. This is stuff called it's Disc Brake Quiet. It's a silicone spray, or you can buy it in a packet and spread it on by hand, but it's pretty messy. That actually collects the dust that comes off the brakes. This reduces the likelihood of having squeaky brakes. It's pretty cheap and certainly makes for less noise in your car. Alright, now, to get the pad installed on this one's a little pain, if it's anything like the other side was. You see, this one's got, looks like a little flower clip there on it. This is the pad that goes inside the caliper piston. See, it's got a hole in the piston. So we put this in there, and the other side I couldn't just push in by hand. I had to actually force it in with the clamp. So I'm going to get my clamp here, because apparently this side's going to do that too, and use my clamp to push this in.